Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, I've always said it, politics is a slow-moving sport, and while the headlines often read, Democrat Party collapse, the reality is that political parties don't crumble overnight. No, they rot slowly from within, and then at some point it all starts to spill out into the public. And that's really, I think, where we are. We're in the fallout stage, the Democrat Party fallout. That's exactly what's happening in the modern Democrat Party. After years of embracing every fringe ideology and every radical voice, all of this identity politics nonsense in the name of progress, the woke crap that led them to having a mental cripple in office, followed by the world's worst DEI hire, they created this political Frankenstein culture that got totally out of hand, and now, well, it seems it's even beyond that. The whole thing is spiraling out of control as the Democrat Party is now being eaten from within. The woke mind virus has taken over, and now the Democrat base has been totally infected, and they're turning on the host. In other words, the Democrat boomer class that's looking in absolute horror as the whole thing falls apart. It's called Democrat dysfunction, and it's currently at an all-time high. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so if you need any proof, then look no further than the New York City mayoral race. It's the perfect lens into the collapse of the Democrat establishment. It's not just this little small district local election, a by-election, a special election. No, this is a massive, high-profile Democrat battlefield, and it's happening in the biggest city in America. It's happening in a left-wing blue bastion. You've got this young leftist radical, Mamdani, who seemingly has completely taken the reins, and then you got two Democrat fossils, Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo, trying desperately to stop him, backed by all the legacy Democrat money. I mean, normally you'd have this star Democrat, this young talent who comes in and is just dominating in the polls. He's currently at 35% and Cuomo's at 25%. Normally at that point they'd call off the dogs and kind of rally behind this new candidate. But no, in this case, you got legacy Democrat forces desperately still running other candidates as independents. Andrew Cuomo is promising to stay in the race, running as an independent alongside Eric Adams doing the exact same thing. And obviously this is evidence of an internal struggle. They're trying to stop Zoran Mamdani, the darling of the radical base, the socialist, Mr. Seize the Means of Production guy.
There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it is the end goal of seizing the means of production, where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment.
The guy who sympathizes with terrorists and wants to dismantle American capitalism.
Do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's what I'm focused on, is dignity and taking on income inequality.
Yeah, that's who's taking over the Democrat Party in New York City, and the legacy donors, the same ones who bankrolled Biden and Kamala Harris. They're now scrambling desperately trying to stop him. Call it a Democrat Party civil war. Not to mention all the speculation suggesting that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to be challenging Chuck Schumer for his Senate seat. And that right there pretty much tells the story. Legacy Democrat, Senate Majority Leader, a real decorated career politician, the guy with all the accolades and all the titles. Well, he's now facing a threatening primary by the Democrat Instagram lady.
Every social media platform, mass social media platform in the United States has been taken over by the right wing. Elon Musk took over Twitter, and there's open reporting. It's pretty obvious as well that they have manipulated the algorithms. They've artificially manipulated the algorithms to boost right-wing content on X and to amplify harassment. They probably would consider algorithmic changes, which is ironic because the time when people voted for the TikTok ban, there was a lot, it was in the environment, was because there was a lot of pro-Palestinian content. I guess supporting human rights is somehow bad. We are on the eve of an authoritarian administration. This is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like. Republicans really model themselves after Orban's Hungary. This is a time of experimentation. A lot of people will still use platforms, can still use platforms.
The Democrat boomer hippies enabled an entire generation to develop the dumbest, most spoiled and privileged and irresponsible, hedonistic political ideology ever dreamed up by mankind. You know, the boomers thought it was cool, they thought it was revolutionary, and it was all the rage in Hollywood. It was gonna take over and never possibly could backfire. They pushed this identity politics stuff, this activist theater nonsense, all this performative, woe is me, I'm the victim theater.
Here's your words, here's your words. I was murdered. You were murdered.
They enabled all of it, and now they're getting steamrolled by the monster they created. You know, in most countries, you've got multiple leftist parties. You could have the Green Party, the Socialist Party, the Classical Liberal Party, even the Communists. But in the case of American politics in a two-party system, or at least that's the way it is right now, well, on the left, under the Democrat banner, all these quirky and opposing radical leftist groups, well, they all have to live under the Democrat roof. And well, it seems that roof is caving in, folks. They allowed this woke revolutionary cult to metastasize inside their base, and now it seems to be consuming everything in sight. New York first, but that's likely the first domino to fall as the entire Democrat Party is reborn in its new radical image, like something out of a frickin' horror movie. This is the party of 9-month abortions, sex changes for minors and illegals, inappropriate content pushed on kids, healthcare for illegal migrants, no borders, anti-capitalist seizure of assets rhetoric, and now the latest little eccentric left-wing pinch of salt, the whole Islamic revolutionary LARP. Yeah, apparently now the trans ideologues running Antifa, well, now they're Hamas militants too. It's all backwards, none of it makes sense, but that is the cultural abomination that the left has created, that the Democrat Party has created. It's what their academic institutions have painted into reality here, and this, my friends, is what we call political self-sabotage. This is what it looks like. After the absolute disaster that was 2024, you know, the Democrats were at a crossroads. They had two paths. They could have cleaned house, reset, urged the party to return to some form of sanity, but instead of going down the path of accountability, well, it seems they have no other choice. They're being dragged down this path, the path of doubling down on delusion. And now going forward, with every race that gets hijacked by these radicals like Mamdani, with all the Democrat donors scrambling in total panic, unknowing what to do, with every Chuck Schumer primary challenge coming up, I think the reality is becoming clearer and clearer. The Democrat Party is collapsing under the weight of its own ideological contradictions. They created the monster, and now the monster has reared its ugly head, and they're staring it dead in the eyes. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.